welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of June 24th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, two individuals hanging out on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm Benjamin Daniel Lawless, and otherwise known as the day after my birthday. So you're welcome, and thank you.
Devon Kraft. Up.
Devon Kraft, unchanged for the past 30 years. What's up?
I mean, when you're cool as a cucumber like Devon is, that is, like, why change?
Why would you change? Yeah.
Right? Yeah, obviously, Devon hasn't had any change in his entire life. Almost 30 years.
He stayed exactly the same. Devon, do you just cryogenically freeze yourself every time we're not talking? Because that's kind of what it feels like sometimes.
Dude, like that episode of Eerie, Indiana. Did you guys ever watch Eerie, Indiana?
I'm sorry, what? I do remember. No, listen, I do remember the title, but I don't think I ever watched it. It was kind of like a Twilight Zone-y thing, right?
Yeah, on Nickelodeon or some small. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting this all wrong, but like I'm now just riffing off of my memories.
Do it.
And so Eerie, Indiana was a show about a boy that moves with his family to the town of Eerie, Indiana, and it is essentially the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm specifically talking about is the episode where he finds out that his neighbors, there's like these two twins, and they go to his school with him, but he looks back at like old historical photos, and the twins have always been there at the school at the same age.
Oh, that's eerie.
Yeah. And so it turns out that his parents, like his mom, sells like a Tupperware derivative called Foreverware,
Mm-hmm.
which is meant to keep like food forever like fine in it. But the boys, like the twins, they sleep in Foreverware beds. Yeah.
That's
Eerie, Indiana.
That's a perfect like kid-friendly intro to Twilight Zone weirdness. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen the most recent episode of Rick and Morty? It's about cryogenic freezing.
No, I haven't watched any since we watched the first episode when you were visiting.
Okay.
So what like 4 episodes behind now or something? All right. Ben already alluded to it. Happy birthday, Ben.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, Ben.
Thank you. In accordance with the prophecy, here I am.
Another year.
And, 42.
40,
which is the answer.
The answer. We got it.
Yeah, man. And
no more questions.
Let's go.
You do anything special for your birthday?
I dragged my family out to a hike out at Harmony Headlands, and I've been trying to do this hike, y'all, with my family for years.
Okay.
It is a really neat hike, except you have to walk through a lot of boring stuff in order to get to the cool stuff. And
what does boring stuff in a hike consist of?
Okay, so like it's the beginning of the hike is mostly shrubland. So it's not like walking through trees. It's shrubland, lots of grasses. You've got to kind of keep yourself away from the tall grasses that start to encroach upon it, because there's a lot of ticks out there, y'all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If I scream, "Don't go into the long grass," do you know what movie I'm referencing?
No.
Okay.
No. Spaceballs?
Nope.
Is it Jurassic Park 2?
That's not a title of a movie that exists, but you're close, Devon.
The Lost World.
The Lost World : Jurassic Park. Yeah, that's it. Because the raptors were hiding in the long grass. Please continue.
Yeah.
Continue, Ben.
Well, you get far enough in, and you turn a corner, and there is just the most beautiful beach. Like not necessarily beach, but like cliffs overlooking the ocean, and it's just
cool,
delightful. And so throughout my son's life, I've taken him on this hike several times, and we've gotten farther and farther each time. And the last time we went was probably 2021.
Okay.
And we finally made it to the ocean. And I was like, yes, finally we are here. It's time for the fun stuff to happen. And he was like, I'm ready to go home now. and so this time I was like, okay, well, how much farther can we go? You're 12, like, let's go.
Yeah.
And we got not as far as I would have liked, but not for anybody being like unable to continue. There just was the next part of the hike that would have continued it on was overgrown with long grasses, and like we'd already seen a bunch of ticks. And we were like, I want to keep doing this, but I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
So but got some good clam chowder, and then took a nap back at home, worked on some creative work, and had a nice day. It was a really nice day.
Beautiful.
So and in continuation on the saga of having the sketchbooks that I gave to my son, he drew me something based on Burnout Paradise, because he is now a Burnout Paradise kid.
Burnout Paradise.
Yeah, man, it's on sale for like $5 on Steam right now, and so I picked up 2 copies of it, and we've just been free burning.
For how much is it on sale for?
$5.
$5 for infinite fun.
Whole, right?
It's amazing.
So,
man, I played that so much on the Xbox 360.
We all three of us did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we could recreate those moments and be like, it's not as fun anymore, but we could do it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there are things I do not understand about the online playing of it, such as how to have a friends list or how to start any particular activity that isn't just strictly a race, like how to do a road rage or the stunt runs.
Yeah,
for some reason I've been able to start races multiplayer, but not anything else. So we're digging into it.
Okay,
who knows?
I'm sure they've had to change things and modify things, because I think it was originally built for consoles. And so the console environment,
PS3, Xbox 360 era.
Exactly, that era. And then to switch that over to PC and to Steam, like, I wonder if some of those features got lost, or they're just more difficult. Like, because I remember there was really good integration with like the Xbox, like friends list stuff. Like that just kind of was already in the game. Like that was the beauty of the Xbox, right? It was just there. It just worked.
Yeah.
And so now, like, if you're playing it on Steam, I would just assume that the Steam friends list would take the place of that, but maybe that just doesn't work that way. Who knows?
So for those of you that do not know the Burnout series and Burnout Paradise in general, Burnout is a video game series where the entire idea is you're crashing. It's a race, but you're crashing cars into one another, and like you're trying to like run them off the road or run them into other cars. It's extremely visceral and fast paced. Burnout Paradise was their attempt at making an open world racer.
Yeah.
And it succeeded in some ways in terms of, and failed in others. I don't think it's the best Burnout game, but it is one that I can play online with my son, and he really likes it. So it's like, okay, cool. We found a game that we both really like. Awesome.
Burnout Paradise Remastered. Look at that thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because there's like a feature in it that I did not remember it like being able to access it back in the 360 era. Okay, so Burnout games historically, specifically Burnout 3 Takedown, which is the best of the best video game ever made.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then Burnout Revenge had these levels where they were called crash, like they were just like crash levels. So they would set up a an intersection, and then you'd have to drive into the intersection, cause a crash that like kind of started a chain reaction so that you could cause as much destruction as possible.
Mhm.
Well,
I remember
didn't-
playing that, and I'm pretty sure it's not in Burnout Paradise.
except it is now.
Oh, they added it. Okay, cool.
Whether it was added like as part of the remastered or not, it when you unlock it, it's a kind of an unlockable thing as you get further into the game. If you pull both of the bumpers on the controller, your car just flips, and you're just like a Katamari Damacy ball trying to just just like hop your car into other cars and then into buses to upgrade, to update your multiplier. And it's really not nearly as cool as a crash mode. However, it almost gets there, and it's pretty fun.
I remember that though. I remember doing
Okay.
that in the game before.
Gotcha.
But it was
Yeah,
like,
so
but if you were
I didn't
online
know about it.
playing with people, why would you do that? Unless you just wanted
Uh,
to like crash into somebody for fun. It was like a feature that was added because people asked for it. And like, okay, yeah, you can do that. But it like
okay.
didn't do anything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, it yeah, you can do it online as well here
Mhm.
and have like two people at the same time just
Wham!
yeah, right. And also what's kind of cool is playing it on the Steam Deck. We're both playing it on our Steam
Oh,
Deck.
Steam Deck.
And so yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of reviews that are saying it does not work on Steam Deck.
Mhm.
Whatever's happened since those reviews, it does.
Okay.
I can verify.
All right.
So it
Well-
all had to do with the EA launcher and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, I'm massaging that because it's free through EA Play if you subscribe to that, which whatever. One of the hosts of this podcast just purchased Burnout Paradise for $5 on Steam and is currently
My
downloading
man.
it. I don't know which one, but one of us is. So look forward to
I
that.
mean, that's like one of the games on 360 I played like the most, so I would also probably really enjoy that.
dude,
I
you
would
guys
do. I
jump
mean, I would do
on
the
me.
races. I was
Yeah.
really good at the stunts, or like whatever it
Yeah,
is where
you
you have
were.
to chain the tricks together to like
Mhm.
get like a zillion points to. That was
Yeah,
fun.
you frankly made me feel very like not a good gamer when we would play together, because you would do your stunt runs would be like massive, and I'm like, how did he do that?
You were
I
really good
cannot
at chaining
compete.
them together because that's what you had to do to like keep them going. You
Yeah.
had to chain them.
Well, you
Yeah.
had to drift because drifting counted as a stunt, and you had to like initiate a stunt like within 10 seconds of completing the last one. So you would just go somewhere, and as soon as you would keep drifting the entire way there, but you also couldn't crash because as soon as you crashed, it was over. So you had to hit these crazy jumps, but also know you were going to land them. It was like
Yeah.
practicing the same jumps over and over to make sure when you hit those jumps, you landed them to keep the stunt going.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I
So,
remember
yeah.
you could have top speed records on
Oh.
certain roads, and that would like
Yeah.
pop up when you were like just bombing down a road, and it would like blink, and it would be like you have the record on this road, and it was like a like the worldwide record or like your friends list record.
As a record,
Yeah, that was cool. All right, so confirmed we're all going to be playing Burnout Paradise later. Awesome. All right, so happy birthday, Ben.
Happy birthday.
This weekend, a couple things happened in our household. We had cousins visit from Santa Rosa. They were here for 4 days. It was one of Martine's cousins and their two kids, which are like 8 and 11, which is perfect because we have a 6 and a 10-year-old, So it was all around the same ages, and they're good kids, and they just played and played and played, and it was awesome. At one point, we decided to go to the Kids Museum in San Luis, which was great. Did that, blah, blah, blah. But I got away when they were doing that, walked down the street to the game store, and ended up buying Harmonies,
Ooh.
which Devon's talked about before in the podcast, and now that I've played it, I can talk about it a little bit. But it's a tile. No, not tile. It's hard to explain, is what it is. You've got a board in front of you with like hexes, and you've got you pick these tile or these tokens, which are pieces of land or land types, I should say. And you can place them on the hexes. And then there's a tableau of animals, and they want to be able to live. They would just want to live. You have to put your tokens in a certain orientation, right? So like one of the ones I was going for was bats. Yay, bats. Well, they want to be next to, it was like they live on a piece of stone, which would be like mountains, caves, right? But adjacent to that stone has to be a tall tree, which is wood stacked on wood with a bush on top. That's a tree. And then like once that is on your board, well, now you can put, you can say, I'm going to do the bats. And you put a little cube on the stone, and you're like, there, bats live there now. And that's worth points. But what's cool, and what the whole Harmonies thing, is that tree and that stone can be part of another animal's habitat. And so like maybe you've got koalas and they want to be on a tree next to grassland. And so if you put a grassland next to that tree, well, now you can throw a koala on the tree. And then that's worth points. And so every player has their own board. And there's a bag with these tokens that are blind drawn. And so that happens every turn. And then you also get like bonus points for like, oh, how many trees do you have? What's your biggest mountain? Crap like that. It's a pretty fun game. On the box, it says 10 and up. And I played with my kids after the cousins left because we were just too busy to actually break it out and play it. But I enjoyed it. My 11-year-old enjoyed it. My 6-year-old got really hyper focused on like wanting the flamingos, and so she was playing a different game than everyone else, I think, but also had fun.
Okay. Yeah. Right on.
But yeah,
That's
I
cool.
would recommend that for like it's got good strategy for like adult players, and the concepts are easy enough that 10 and up, that totally makes sense. That my 11-year-old got it. And, she had some problems like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, oh, well, if you think about it this way, oh, yeah, okay. Like she was trying to get crows, and a crow has to be on a field, but that field has to be adjacent to buildings that are 2-story buildings. And so she was trying to do crows. And anyways.
Yeah. And you get points for the terrain you've created, and then points for the animals that inhabit the environment. So you want to try to build terrain that synergizes with itself, because things have to be built next to each other to get points just for the terrain. But then also that, like you said, that creates the habitat for the animal. And so you want that to make sense so you can put as many animals like overlapping as possible.
Yeah.
So it's a fun strategy game.
Yeah, it's like you're creating a puzzle and trying to put it together efficiently at the same time. It's like I could totally see a group of adults like hardcore playing this game because of the complexity of it, but also kids can get in there and have fun as well. Anyways,
Cool.
Also,
Speaking of board games,
yes,
can I talk a little bit about board games?
do it.
Yeah, so I finally was able to get the to get us to try out the Infinite board game. Do you guys remember me talking about this at all?
Yes,
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. So like bringing it a little bit back really quick. Piecepack, the Piecepack system is to board games what a standard deck of playing cards is to card games. So it's a set of components that can be used to play a bunch of different games, hundreds of different games. And so
that's right. Okay.
Yeah. I was trying to build my own, and then I ended up just kind of plopping some money down and picking up a Piecepack system that was on Amazon at one point. And it came with a book that had like 50 games in it.
Beautiful.
And so I was like, okay, this is cool, and did not get a lot of buy-in to trying out many of the games before. But what I ended up finding was there's a section in this book that is called dexterity games. So dexterity games, I found a game in there which was essentially 9-ball, like billiards.
Oh, cool.
Using the system and like flicking coins against walls in order to essentially have an approximation of a 9-ball billiards. And that was super fun.
Nice.
But then I got the entire, so yeah, my son and I have been playing that. And then we played this game called Worm Derby, which is a, like it's it's a race where
Okay.
you play as worms that are like 5 coins long,
Uh-huh.
5 or 6 coins long, and then you are uh, uh, moving, like, depending on the dice roll, you can either move your the back of your worm to the front of your worm in order to kind of move along, or move one of the tiles that's set up as like an obstacle, so you can move it out of your way or into the way of other worms. And you're just trying to go around a and a tile at the end that's kind of like the end parse, and then come back to the start. And that was a whole bunch of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Right on, man. You
um,
should look. You
yeah.
should look into to see if it's part of your Infinite board game. The game of Tack.
Ooh, the game.
TAK. That was a game that originated in a book called the Name of the Wind, right? The Patrick Rothfuss, uh, two books and a third one's on the way for the past 100 years. Um, Apparently, like that game is in the books, but like he didn't have a rule set made and just kind of made some stuff up, and it's supposed to be this like really complicated but fun and like type of game. And then like some game developer was like, actually, I can make this for real, and they did, and now it's like there's like a little niche of people that play it, and it seems really interesting. There was a YouTube channel. There is a YouTube channel called The Modern Rogue, and they had a whole walkthrough of like how to play it and some strategies. And I watched that and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But it's one of those like you just need a board and you need like 3 different pieces that can be defined as different, and then you can like, and then once you know the rules, you can just play it. So that might
Yeah.
be in your Infinite board. You might be able to play that via your Infinite board game somehow.
Yeah, looking at the diagram, they have a section on their site that says playing Tack with a Piecepack stack pack. Now I don't know if I have a stack pack, but
Yeah,
I could always. Oh,
you do
I
need
do.
it to stack things on top of each other that has meaning
Yeah.
within the game. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
Um,
the pieces look familiar. They look like the things I would have. So
yeah,
yeah.
there's a piece that's flat, and then you can take it and you stand it up on its side. Like the flat one is like, this is a road, and you stand it up on its side, this is a wall. And then another piece is like, this goes on top and nothing can go on top of this. But like the roads can stack on top of each other, the walls block things.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting game from just like a game design concept. So yeah, take a look at that. All right, this episode rolls on. Let's one more thing that I wanted to
Sure.
talk about quickly, because it finally arrived in the mail, and that is Slug Blaster. So
Ooh.
Slug Blaster was something that I ordered. I ordered the like fancy edition of it way back in December, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, this will be we're having it reprinted. It'll be done in a few months." And I was like, "Cool." Gave them my money and just waited. And then a few months ago, they sent out an email that said, so the games are printed, but they're in China, and now that tariffs are different, that's an additional cost that we weren't prepared for. So we don't have an extra like $40,000 for the tariffs. We were anticipating like 2,000. We're not sure where we're going to be able to get these out to people. Here's a PDF of the rules. We'll see what happens. And then several weeks later, so a few weeks ago, they sent out another email that said, "Hey, it's been settled. We figured it out. They're on their way." And they didn't like specify any further than that, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. Well, it arrived in the mail for me, which was great. And so I'm just going to read the back of the box quickly, because we can dig into this another time. But Slug Blaster is an RPG, right? In the town of Hillview, teenage skaters sneak into other dimensions to explore, film tricks, go viral, and get away from the problems at home. It's dangerous, it's stupid, it's got parent groups in a panic, and it's the coolest thing ever. This is Slug Blaster, an RPG about teenagehood, giant bugs, circuit bent ray guns, and trying to be cool.
Nice.
It got Game of the Year at IGDN, Best Game, any nominee for Best Game, Must Play from Tabletop Gaming, and Best Art from IGDN, a nominee for that. And it's cool. It's a 90s aesthetic. skating, but it's like hoverboards. And it's the town of Hillview, not Hill Valley, Hillview. This game is for us, for 40-year-olds, for sure.
Yeah. Yes.
And about our misspent youths. It's pretty neat. And one of the really interesting bits about it that really made me push the buy button was that it's not an open end RPG. You don't play it forever. The character class, if you will, is like the chill, the heavy, the fun one, right? Like everyone, like the smart one, like all of these like archetypes. And when you pick that archetype, you get your special skills and things you can do, but there's also like this story arc that you complete. And so like every class has options for like, what are your problems? How do you solve them? And it's your own personal story arc, so that after you play, it says between 5 to 10 sessions, you wrap it up. It's like, okay, you accomplished a thing. Now you're getting older. Now you move on with your life. Right. And then the last session is like an epilogue of like what happened to that character. And so most RPGs that I've played are open-ended. Like you make a character, you play until the game falls apart and no one can play anymore. Right. Very rarely do you like play several rounds and you're like, okay, now we're done. It's all wrapped up and finished. You kind of play until it stops being fun. Well, this one has an ending. And I thought that was super, super cool idea. Anyways, that's Slug Blaster. You can't really like find it on the shelves. The PDFs are available. If you want to go online and buy your own PDF of the game and play it that way. I got the fancy one that came with dice and a pin and stickers and a box that also doubles as a. It looks like a pizza box kind of, and it's also your GM screen. Because I had extra money and I wanted to do that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that one of these days. Seems really cool.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm sure that we could probably get my son in on it too.
Heck yes. Maybe when Devon comes to visit in a month.
Yeah.
We might be slug blasting. Who knows?
Across the universe.
Yeah, different dimensions. It's because like you're at home and you have to deal with homework, and then you get away with your friends and you go into another dimension and you do a trick, and then aliens come after you and you shoot them with a ray gun. And you get home and like, where have you been? You need to finish your homework. Oh, so silly. All right. This is a podcast about science and science fiction. We've kind of been skirting around those things, but let's get into the science, because science. Science. Who wants to go first? I'm looking at you, Devon.
No, you're gonna say that.
Is it is it future or is it now or is it the past?
I guess it's both. It's the present and the past. So, and it's also This Week in Space. This article is from Gizmodo, NASA satellite that's been dead for 57 years since mysterious signal to Earth.
Whoa.
Just sounds kind of cool. It's not a huge story, but it's just, anyway. So over a year ago, scientists in Australia picked up a burst of electromagnetic radiation, which they thought was a fast radio burst at first. Mm-hmm. So they picked up a mysterious fast radio burst that lasted for less than 30 nanoseconds.
That is fast.
They said, yeah, we got all excited thinking maybe we discovered a new pulsar or some other object, said Clancy James, a researcher at Curtin University. This was an incredibly powerful radio pulse that vastly outshone everything else in the sky for a very short amount of time. So once they pinpointed where it was, they figured out that it was from the Relay 2 satellite, which was launched in 1964. Mm-hmm. And it stopped operating on June 9th, 1967, when its two transponders failed. And then it was never heard of again until 60 years later when this was detected.
Wow.
So as to why Relay 2 suddenly emitted the signal, that's a mystery. The scientists behind the detection believe that the satellite may have built up electricity over the years and then suddenly discharged it in a single powerful burst. Another possibility is that Relay 2 was struck by a meteorite,
Oh.
micrometeorite, or another object in orbit, resulting in the release of a small cloud of plasma, the researchers speculate. As an increasing number of defunct satellites zip around in space, producing all kinds of weird bleeps and bloops, it's become harder for scientists to distinguish whether it's the cosmos talking or just some piece of malfunctioning hardware. I thought it was cool that something so old all of a sudden like transmitted a signal, because it could be kind of a cool start to some kind of sci-fi story. But
Well,
that's
yeah. The camera pans over to this thing, and there's like an alien poking at it. Like, what is this piece of trash? That's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
like it passing through, like the idea that it just kind of slowly over 60 years built up an electric charge via whatever is kind of neat. Like that's a cool idea. Right on. Hey Ben.
Yo, what's up?
Future or
So-
now?
Yeah, so this is I came across this interesting video on Substack, which is Ray Bradbury giving a talk probably in the early 80s about writing. He was addressing a bunch of screenwriters in the room, and it was interesting because he basically was telling everybody like, "Hey, screenwriters, you should be reading other work that's not screenwriting. You should be writing other work, like specifically poetry or short stories or novels, because he said, and this is back in the 80s, he said like nobody remembers who wrote a screenplay unless you're a writer and director. Like it's everybody else gets all the attention, and in this industry, like he was talking about how like he'd been writing screenplays as well as all of the other things that Ray Bradbury did. He released a collection of poetry. He was most best known for his science fiction novels, and he's like, yeah, the thing is that he's like, I have friends who are screenwriters in Hollywood, and they are afraid to go on vacation. They make 10 times as much money as I do, but they know that as soon as they go on vacation, they stop producing, that they're going to be like someone else will just take their place, and they'll, and so it's just kind of an
fear will keep
interesting...
the local systems in line, right?
Yeah. Wow, I've heard that one before. Yeah, but he was just like, hey, I'm warning you now so you don't have to pay a psychiatrist 20 years from now. Like, this is something that is probably going to happen to in your career as a screenwriter. But like, go and explore these other types of writing and bring the richness and diversity of the ideas that come in through that other writing into screenwriting, and it will make it richer.
Or sequels and reboots. So, either
or
way.
AI, ChatGPT can just do it.
Sure.
Which is just recycling everything else that's ever been written. Neat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I mean, like, it seems though, like here is whether or not people find value in it is one thing or not. Like right now, it seems that as I'm thinking a lot about writing and about producing books and writing my own work, the idea being here is that the great differentiator is going to be quality. It's going to be original ideas. It's going to be pushing the envelope in some way and writing things that are true to me at this moment, from and seeing who does that resonate with. In an era where, like, are we going to find that big budget blockbuster movies are going to be too expensive to make because everybody is far more interested in watching 3 to 5 second long TikToks or YouTube reels or Facebook reels or whatever? Like, there is a seismic shift happening. And right? Like, so the thing is that the very nature of the writing that's happening, like, that the industry is trying to do, is they're trying to get safe bets, but there is no safe bet, right? So the, like, really what that means to me as a creator, as much as possible right now, what I'm aiming for is authenticity. And that seems to be what Ray Bradbury's advice was back in the 1980s, in like 84, I think is what this video is from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
That's beautiful advice that people should follow.
Yeah,
100%.
Or don't, like at your peril.
I mean, yeah, do what you want, but if
see how it works for you,
you will
who knows?
be much happier with your own work doing that than trying to copy someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
What's today? I don't know when it came out, but I started watching. Red Letter Media came out with a review of Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you watch that, Devon?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm about like halfway through it, but they made it was kind of interesting that like that screenplay. There's like 40 different versions of it with some real wacky stuff, and which is fun. But also, the Bob Gale, the writer, the creator, whatever, and Robert Zemeckis have both. They have it in a contract somewhere that there will be no sequels or reboots while they're alive. And then the review guys go into like this thing about like, oh, so like right before they die, we should cryogenically freeze them so that no one ever makes anything else because they'll technically still be alive. Which is like, yeah, we have all of this great, wonderful, one-of-a-kind sci-fi, these different stories, this different fiction that nowadays it's all sequels and reboots. And they made a joke about like, oh, the prequel talking about like one of the side characters. They made a joke about like, oh yeah, if they were able to, they'd make a prequel about this one character and blah blah blah. Back to the Future is amazing. Yeah, I just want to say that. But like, yeah, this Ray Bradbury's advice for sure. Do your own stuff. It's great.
Yeah, it's more about maybe AI, but I saw Jason Pargin. He does a lot of videos. I don't know if you guys see his stuff come up on YouTube and things, but he used to be a cracked writer. Anyway, he said he was talking about how authors, especially like independent authors who have to put out a lot more work to keep fans paying attention to their stuff so they can keep their jobs, how some of them now are like they let ChatGPT write the stuff they don't want to write. So if it's like a description of a building or like walking into the lobby of a hotel, it's like, well, I know I want it to look sort of like this, then I'll just tell ChatGPT and it'll write a whole description of it and I'll just use that, put that in the book, and that'll be that part of the book. And of course, Jason Pargin was like, well, you could do that. Or, he had examples of writers who it's like, well, here's a description of, I don't know what book it was from, but like a girl whose family moved to Mars and how she was describing the habitat, how it was like, cramped and it was like packed in like gunpowder, and how like the rain on the roof sounded like the marching of, soldiers and things. And she's like, and I don't know what that sounds like, but my dad explained it to me. It's the point being that like every part of the book, every description is something the author should be contributing to the story. How just describing a building or a setting, you can do that and still add character and depth and, give more information about the person describing it and all that things. Like, it's not just like, oh, ChatGPT, give me a location. Okay, cool. I'll just throw that in. Now I'll have my characters live in that location.
That's lazy writing. Which like, what's the difference between that and just like going, I'm going to make a story where the setting is, it's Hill Valley, but I'll call it Hillview instead, and just in your mind, it's already exists as from a part of somebody else's media and you just make it your own. It's again, lazy,
Well, I mean, I think there's degrees to that because obviously that's an homage and you're adding your own originality to it to some extent.
Yes, there's gray areas, Mr. Lawyer. We get it. But I'm just saying it's lazy. It's lazy. Unless you're specifically going for an homage, it's lazy. And like my example a second ago in this RPG, like, it's like that generic 80s, 90s town. You give an example of pop culture to get everybody on the same page. Like, that's one way to go about it. Or you create your own from scratch. Do whatever you want. I don't know. Anyways, anything else, Ben?
No, that's it for from Ray Bradbury this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah. Steven, what you got?
Oh man, I've got now and future. Okay, so this is calling this one Cursed. This is great. This comes from Science Daily. It was published yesterday, June 23rd. The title is From Cursed Tomb Fungus to Cancer Cure. Aspergillus flavus yields potent new drug.
Wow.
Pharaoh's cursed fungus transformed to fight leukemia. Like, what a great byline.
Huh.
It's not exactly what this is, but it's very close.
Yeah.
So, as we all know, when they opened the tomb of King Tut, right, the pharaoh Tutankhamun in the 1920s, a bunch of people died later, and they were like, "Oh, it's the pharaoh's curse." But now it's theorized that there was fungal spores that were dormant in this tomb that then the people that went in, they got infected and then turned into zombies. I mean, they died. So it also happened in the 1970s when scientists entered the tomb of Casimir IV in Poland. Within weeks, 10 of them had died. Later investigations revealed the tomb contained A. flavus, whose toxins can lead to lung infections, especially in people with compromised immune systems. So they don't know if this was the exact spore or fungus from King Tut, but it definitely is the one from Casimir IV in Poland. And they're theorizing that like something similar happened with the King Tut tomb. We can't figure it out anymore, or whatever.
Because it's been long enough. We can't.
It's been 100 years. So who knows? Maybe they can get in there and try to figure it out. But so this is interesting about this fungus. So let's see, a rare fungal find. The therapy in question is a class of ribosomally synthesized and post-translationally modified peptides, or RIPs, pronounced like the rip in a piece of fabric. The name refers to how the compound is produced by the ribosome, a tiny cellular structure that makes proteins, and the fact that it is modified later, in this case, to enhance its cancer-killing properties. So let's see. There are some people here. Quote, purifying these chemicals is difficult, says Kwai Ni, a postdoctoral fellow in CBE,
which is the
chemical
and biomolecular engineering.
Yep. That's at the
Penn State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Penn State. Let's see. And the paper's first author, while thousands of RIPs have been identified in bacteria, only a handful have been found in fungi. In part, this is because past researchers misidentified fungal RIPs as non-ribosomal peptides and had little understanding of how fungi created the molecules. Quote, the synthesis of these compounds is complicated, but that's also what gives them this remarkable bioactivity. So, to find more fungal RIPs, the researchers first scanned a dozen strains of Aspergillus, which previous research suggested might contain more of the chemicals. By comparing chemicals produced by these strains with known RIP building blocks, the researchers identified A. flavus as a promising candidate for further study. Genetic analysis pointed to a particular protein in A. flavus as a source of fungal RIPs. When the researchers turned the gene that creates that protein off, the chemical markers indicating the presence of RIPs also disappeared. This novel approach, combining metabolic and genetic information, not only pinpointed the source of fungal RIPs in A. flavus, but could be used to find more fungal RIPs in the future. So they're identifying, hey, does this do the thing we want it to do? And also created a process that now they can check other fungus to see if they can do the thing they want it to do. So, after purifying 4 different RIPs, the researchers found that molecules shared a unique structure in interlocking rings. The researchers named these molecules, which have never been previously described, after the fungus in which they were found. So aspergillus. Even with no modification, when mixed with human cancer cells, aspergillus demonstrated medical potential. 2 of the 4 variants had potent effects against leukemia cells.
Wow. Good.
Yes, very good. Another variant to which the researchers added a lipid or fatty molecule that is also found in the royal jelly that nourishes developing bees. Like, they're just throwing everything at the wall, sees what sticks. This is amazing. Performed as well as cytarabine and jeez.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where you're at in it so I can help, but I'm not finding
it's
it.
under a
All right.
potent new medicine. 2, whatever they're called, 2 FDA-approved drugs that have been used for decades to treat leukemia. So
Okay.
these are like right on track with what we already have to treat leukemia. This article goes further. It gets a little more complicated. Let's see. So how exactly does this work? Let's see, to understand, no. Well, okay. It gets at this point the article gets very complicated. But essentially, old fungus, they looked at it, they did some stuff to it, refined it, and now it can be used to fight leukemia with further developing, this, and they still have to do trials and animal models and human trials, all of that. But just as like a cool science thing, like the old King Tut curse now fights leukemia is pretty darn cool.
Yes.
Just looking into the quote, natural world to and modifying things and using them to fight other things is just cool, man. That's what we should be funding. That's what we should be looking at. That's what we should be moving forward with in the world, and not just bombing countries. So anyways, that's it. Link will be in the show notes if you want to dig into more of the sciencey bits, because there's a subheading called Cracking the Code of Cell Entry and Disrupting Cell Division and Future Directions. It's a whole thing. Really neat. So check that out if you are interested. So with that, we are going to take ourselves a little break. And when we come back, we're doing Book Club. We are diving deep into A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. We've got, 3 chapters this week that we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
Book chapters 4, 5, and 6. Audible chapters 6, 7, and 8 for some reason. And we're going to talk about those things.
Get with it, Audible.
Get with it, Audible. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
So we'll be right back. You ever notice how everyone in sci-fi movies has a secret society they belong to? The Jedi, the Bene Gesserit, the Illuminati, or whatever? Well, guess what? So do we. It's called our Patreon, and if you join at patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast, you'll get access to exclusive content, our Discord, and knowledge that normal listeners will never understand. Join us, or remain in the dark. Your call. And we're back.
Heyo.
Hi.
And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. Keep it up. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
I love you.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Okay, I love you. Bye. Thanks, guys. You guys are amazing. Keep it up. Renee gave us a whole. She sent us a whole thing. We got to talk about that. I know we didn't plan on that. I just remembered, and so now I'm going to interrupt everything and talk about that. So, Devon, two episodes ago, you talked about
Animal Liberation Now by Peter Singer.
Exactly, right? And so Renee had a response to that.
She's like, F animals, they want to be eaten.
Yeah, they have no brains. We should just eat them. So she's cool. No.
They'd eat you if they could.
Exactly.
You better eat them first.
Eat them first. Humanity first. Okay, so here's what she said. I've dealt with Devon's dilemma quite a bit in the last couple of years. We have some cases in our office of prosecuting related to an animal liberation group breaking into some local poultry farms to liberate chickens, and ones they didn't liberate, they gave medication to. They did a fair share of protesting outside our offices, just like anything. They're the extremes, so their viewpoints were really over the top. I have two friends that are in the farming/ranching community. One owns/runs a chicken farm, and the other works on a cattle ranch. The chicken farmer is a pretty awesome woman. She used to be a vegan or vegetarian, I don't remember which, for most of her life before she started this farm. Her whole thing is local and sustainable farming is better for everyone. Things like her chickens living their lives out. Then after they're no longer laying, they become stew meat chickens, so it's not wasteful. She uses regenerative agricultural practices. We've talked about things like leather and how buying like one leather bag or pair of shoes will last longer, making them more sustainable purchase than a pleather version. If we all purchased more locally/sustainably, I think a lot of the huge factory farming issues would be reduced. But then that's also coming from a huge place of privilege that I can and do try to support the smaller farmers by paying higher prices. Not everyone has that option. Anyway, if you're on Instagram, highly recommend my friend's farm page. She posts fun videos of their dogs and stuff too, at wiseacre_farm, which I went to that Instagram page and checked her out and seems pretty legit. Yeah, so the whole idea of using every part of the animal is great. You have a chicken, you feed it, you use its poop as fertilizer. That's great. And then once it's done laying, you let it live out its life, and then you turn it into stew meat and you eat that. You put the rest of it into your compost, put it back into the ground to help, with your crops. All that stuff. That's good stuff. That's opposite of factory farming, and we should move back in that direction, I think. So anyways, thanks Renee for those comments. Also the idea of like, oh, it's leather, it's animal, gross. But then like, yeah, but if it was done ethically, now that product will last you far longer than the pleather, right? The fake stuff.
Right.
I know my sister-in-law, who is vegetarian, she goes for it's like a plant-based leather for her shoes. Like she gets very specific shoes that are not like pleather. It's like a plant-based something that she uses. I got to talk to her about that and see what that is.
I think it's called cotton. Plant-based.
Okay, maybe, but
no, I don't know. I don't know what she uses, but I just there's a lot of plant-based materials you've been using for textiles.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's some kind of leather analog, because she the types of shoes she likes are like cross between like a sneaker and a hiking shoe, because she likes to get out in the outdoors. Anyways, thank you, Renee, for your comments. Appreciate that. Now let's get into our book club. A Psalm for the Wild Built. Ben, do you know somebody in your life that has started reading this book because of us?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Mom, I hope you enjoy this book. She picked it up from the library and sent me a nice photo. I was like, oh, hey, there it is. I know that book.
Thank you, Martha. You're the best. Yeah. All right. So let's get into this.
And it's funny because that day was not the only day I got a photo of that book, Steve, that had literally no context to it.
I sent you a different book, sir.
Well, I mean, what was I supposed to look at in that? Because the only thing I noticed, it looked like your bookshelf.
It wasn't. No, I was at Barnes and Noble, and it was the to be taught if fortunate. Yeah, because we have just covered that on the show here, and I was like, look, they've got it here at the local Barnes and Noble. Yeah, that was not my bookshelf.
It looks like it though.
Kind of.
On the shelf under it, you can even see the Expanse books.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're there too. Just like on my bookshelf at home, kind of.
Just like on your bookshelf at home. So I'm like, why is everybody sending me photos of Becky Chambers books today?
It was Becky Chambers Day, is what it was. We should all celebrate.
Absolutely incredible. I guess what I'm saying now is I no longer am phased by it. Continue to send your photos of Becky Chambers books on bookshelves and or holding them.
Stay tuned for Ben's phone number later, and then you can all text him pictures of your books.
Join our Patreon.
Join our Patreon. Get access to our Discord, and you can send all of your photos of books there and tag Ben. He'll love it.
Yeah.
So good.
And good times.
All right.
But here we are with the true chapters. What are we doing this week?
Chapter 4, an object and an animal. Chapter 5, remnants. And Chapter 6, grass hen with wilted greens and caramelized onion.
Now, this seems to be where the story starts here in Chapter 4.
I mean, we finally have a monk and a robot, so yeah.
we ended with the robot coming out of the bushes, and Dex going, "What is going on?" And then here we are with kind of not just like the story beats that we'll see for the rest of this book as well as into the next one, but also kind of the structure of it, which is really like the meat and potatoes of this book and the next is the conversations that are happening between Mosscap and humans.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And yeah.
So, well, in last week, Splendid Speckled Mosscap really introduced us to Mosscap and that whole deal. An object and an animal. I listened to this like right after the last time we recorded, so it's been over a week. What happened in this chapter exactly?
All right.
Can we recap that a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm looking online for like a recap, but I'm having trouble finding one.
I mean, I have the book currently up, so like I could basically the idea here is that just Mosscap starts asking questions and Dex asks questions back, and you learn a lot more about what the robots have been up to, how they meet every 200 days, and they decide where to meet and like how they interact with one another through the use of caches. And so like you get all these details, but really what it serves to do is just to say that Mosscap went to a big gathering of a bunch of robots, and it said, "I'm curious about the humans," and the other robots are like, "Well, then go figure it out." So
he went, "Okay," and off he went.
Yeah, off he went, just in some direction to find the first human that it would stumble upon, and it came across Dex. And so the idea here is that like you start to learn a lot of Dex's assumptions about robots, like how many robots are there? And
he goes, "I don't know.
I don't know. How many humans are there?" And Dex is like, "I don't know, but like shouldn't you have all of that information because you're a robot?" And Mosscap's like, "No, we're not networked." Like that would be
like
terrible.
way that Mosscap is like, "Do you think we're networked together? Ugh, gross."
Right.
That was awesome.
Yeah, can you imagine? Would you want everybody else's thoughts in your head? Would you want even one other person's thoughts in your head? Even if our hardware allowed for that, which it assuredly does not, I can't see how that would do anything but make us completely unhinged.
It's almost like too much socialization is bad, like
right?
Social media.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just not share everything all the time. Yeah. So they have some deep conversations like that about, hey, what are you? How are you working? What's all this? Was it that chapter? Or is it chapter 5 remnants when we discover why, or how the robots have been quote unquote surviving all these years. Was that under Remnants?
I think that's under Remnants.
Okay.
Yeah. But still, like here, what's fascinating is like Dex starts asking how how were you the one chosen to come and see all these humans? And Moscap's like, I was the first to volunteer. And that was it. That was it. But like Dex then goes like, well, I this isn't what I would have pictured a robot to be like, because these machines should only work because of numbers and logic. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of that happening with how Moscap acts. And Moscap then says, that's how we function, not how we perceive. Which is really kind of fascinating, And so like gets into this discussion about like, well, ants in ant colonies, they make logical decisions, food, threats, obstacles based on their stimuli. But like it's how it functions, but not how it perceives. Does it see beauty? Does an ant reflect on the fact that it's being an ant? Maybe, but it's unlikely, So kind of drawing a lot of these comparisons with other things in nature, which of course, why wouldn't they? Because they're part of the natural world. Yeah. So it's neat how that's all happening. But the basic idea here is that you get through that initial discussion, and then they start getting on the road. And in Chapter 5, Remnants, this is where the wagon can't quite make the trip along the roads, and there is a problem where the water tank gets punctured.
That's right. Okay.
And Dex needs to, Dex and Moscap need to figure it out.
That's right, because they're heading towards the temple that's off the beaten path, almost literally, so that's why
the one place
issues.
Where they think that there might be crickets.
Right. So she gets puncture in her water tank, and he's like,
they get puncture in their water tank.
Did I say she again?
Yes, you did.
Oh my gosh! I think the reason why is on the cover of the book. Before I read the book and I looked at it, the image on the book to me reads female. And so that was like locked into my brain that Dex is female. I did it again, are non-binary, and please continue to correct me. Dex, has a water tank with there's like a recycling system in there so they can reuse water when they've showered or things like that. It can be filtered, and then they have like a kind of a discussion about how I just fill it up whenever I'm out of town and don't really think about it, and now they have to, and have to with Moscap say I can't just get water, and Moscap's like, yeah, you can, there's a stream right over there, let's go.
And picks up the water tank, and Dex is like, don't do that for me, and Moscow's why? Right. And because they feel the shame of the historical significance of making robots do humans bidding. And Moscap says, well, if you had a friend who was taller than you and you couldn't reach something, you'd let that friend help, right?
That was a really good rebuttal to historical trauma.
Right.
Imagine if we needed oh man, I need this, I don't know, cotton to survive, but I can't pick it myself. Hey, African American friend, can you pick this cotton for? Oh, I can't have you pick the cotton. Because that's essentially what this is talking about, right?
I mean, okay, so that's an interesting statement because I lack the context in which the person asking the African American person would be unable to pick the cotton themselves. This is something where Moscap has the strength to pick up this water tank, and Dex does not.
Yeah.
And and Moscap then says, "Sibling Dex, has it occurred to you that maybe I want to fix this? That I deeply, keenly want to get you where you're going, not out of charity nor obligation, but because I'm interested?"
Yeah.
If you don't want to infringe upon my agency, let me have agency. I want to carry the tank. Which was interesting.
That was pretty cool.
And then when they walk on the trail, Dex is like, "Well, I can't walk on the trail, or I can't walk off a path because it's been, they've been taught their whole life to not like disturb nature."
Yeah.
Right.
And then
then Moscap is like, every time you take a step anywhere, you're killing millions of things, so don't worry about it.
As long as you try, you don't. As long as you're
not
reasonable
malicious
about it. And don't go out of your way to destroy things.
Right.
And then Dex thinking about, we have water and things, but we never really think about where they come from. I think Dex even says, like, I know, like, the water, like the where the water comes from for our cities, but I still don't think about the actual place itself. Which, I mean, we don't really do that. I mean, I don't really think about the water sources for the water we use.
It's so far removed from our daily lives. It's something us
Which goes back
as Americans,
factory farming as well.
Yeah,
right.
Same thing. If it's the whole out of sight, out of mind, right? Like, well, I don't have to deal with that. I know somebody does, but that's like there's a disconnect there, and so this book kind of attempts to jumpstart that thinking a bit, and in a positive way, I think. Like, let's think about that. Think about where your water comes from. Think about, who filters it, what it takes to filter it, what it takes to get it to you, in a such a manner that it doesn't require you to think about it, but you should.
Right. Yeah. Lots of ecology lessons in here too, right? But like they get to the stream where Moscap is ready to fill up the water tank and then put it back through the gray water system. And Dex sees all of this mold, or not mold, but moss and lichen and stuff, and gets icked out by
ew, nature.
Yeah. Well, just more like, I don't feel like I should drink that. And Moscap says, "Well, why do you feel that way?" And Dex like, I don't know. And so this gets into the discussion about remnants, because they go then to a decrepit building that used to be a beverage bottling plant. And and they like, corpse is not an apt word for this sort of building, because a corpse is a rich resource, a bounty of nutrients ready to be divided and reclaimed. The buildings Dex was most used to fit this description. Like they'd been using sustainable building practices. Decay was a built-in function of the city's towers, crafted from translucent casein and mycelium masonry. And so those walls would begin to decompose and either be repaired by materials grown for that express purpose, or if the building was no longer in use, be reabsorbed into the landscape that had hosted it for a time. But a factory-age building, a metal building, that's of no benefit to anything beyond the small creatures that enjoyed some temporary shelter in its remains. It would corrode till it collapsed. That was the most it would achieve. Its only legacy was to persist where it did not belong.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so the discussion of remnants, and Moscap keeps on discussing like these small memories that it has generationally from how it's been constructed over the years, because portions of it are from several different robots from the factory age that have all been kind of split apart and recombined into what makes Moscap up now. And that's not very different from the remnants that we have when we, as humans, or the Dex had, when they looked at the stream and saw all this moss in there and thought, that's going to, I drink that's going to hurt me. And it's cool.
It's really cool. I really liked the idea of when a robot is done, then their parts are reused
Right.
and new robots are made, and then there's like a internalized lineage of what they came from.
Right.
That was just such a cool idea of like we humans can't do that biologically, right? We can't think real hard and then get a memory from our great grandparents, right? Like that's
Or I mean, there is some
Not really.
some
I mean, that's the whole
spiritual
point of a
practices
remnant.
that
It's
we
not
make, right?
really that, right? As I understood it.
I mean, it's I guess it's an interesting thing. Like there's some spiritual practices that discuss generational trauma and like the honoring of our ancestors and how there is a portion of them that are in us that continues to live through this day and informs the choices we make in some cases. Whether there's scientific backing of that is dubious, of course, but the like that's interesting there about like that the robots here had a choice. They had a choice of either let's reconstitute our new beings or just repair what we already had. And they ultimately chose to as the originals began breaking down, to separate the parts and let them become new creatures, because immortality is less desirable because nothing else in the world behaves that way. Everything else breaks down and is made into other things. We are made of molecules that originated in an unmeasurable amount of organisms. We eat dozens of dead things every single day to maintain our form. And when we die, bits of us are going to be taken in turn by bacteria and beetles and worms. And so it goes. Even though the robots are not natural beings, they know it. They're still subject to the parent god's laws, just like everything else. Yeah.
yeah, that's man. Good job, Becky Chambers.
Right. If the originals had simply fixed themselves, they'd be behaving in opposition to the very thing they desperately sought to understand.
Man. There was so much just simply stated in this book that have
right.
enormous implications for the world.
Dex asks if Moscap is afraid of death, and Moscap says, "Of course." It's very odd, though, isn't it? The very thing every being fears most is the only thing that's for certain.
Amazing. All right, let's move on to the last chapter then. Grass hen with wilted greens and caramelized onion.
Well,
this is the farming chapter and the eating chapter.
Before they get there,
yeah,
I think one more thing is that Dex notices that that as they're in the corroded out place,
bottling plant,
but sees like a delicate spider meticulously weaving its web. And they say it's pretty here. I wouldn't have imagined I'd say that about a place like this, but, and Moscap then says, yes, it is. It is. Dying things often are. I think there's something beautiful about being lucky enough to witness a thing on its way out.
Kind of morbid.
Yeah. Sure.
Not that that's wrong, but like, yeah, it's true.
Death, you know. But yeah, again, like this is a philosophical treatise as much as it is a science fiction story.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that's kind of I think of it more like that anyway, because it's really just like a dialogue between two characters. Mm-hmm. Like, have you ever read what is it, Ishmael?
I've never read Ishmael.
Moby Dick.
Ishmael. Why am I saying it like that? Ishmael.
My name is Ishmael. The opening line of Moby Dick.
Yes. Is that what it's called? Maybe.
Moby Dick, right?
Well, yeah, it's reference. That name is used in Moby Dick. I can't talk. I don't know what's going on. But no, it's a book by Daniel Quinn. It's a character talks to a talking gorilla, and it's more of like a philosophical treatise about environmentalism. But anyway, it's a good book. I read it in college.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, talking gorillas. I saw that movie. It's Planet of the Apes. That's pretty good. All
The
right.
audiobook is available on YouTube.
It's just a bunch of screaming in the jungle, though. It's not very good. It's red and it's native gorilla. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right. Grass hen with wilted greens and caramelized onion. I'm gonna need a
Yeah.
recap. I don't remember again, except for that there was cooking. That Moscap was helping with cooking. This
Right,
was talking about like farming and stuff too, right?
Yeah, I mean, humans are the only ones who cook, right? They're also they're not the only ones that drink fermented things.
Oh, that's right. He talks about
Oh yeah.
the birds or whatever that eat fermented berries and get drunk.
Right. Yeah, and Moscap gets really interested, eyes shining bright. Will you do the same? Stumbling in circles, falling down.
Oh, that's right, because she pulls out like an ale that someone had traded
Yeah.
for, and
They do.
they jeez.
Yep.
Yep, they
But
do.
they do, and so they're both Moscap and Dex kind of have a lot of discussion about like, well, how does one cook? What is that? There, why do we put butter on things? You know, because fat makes everything taste better. Um, you know, Moscap also is curious about whether well, Dex kind of realizes that after they make the food that they feel weird about it because they're enjoying this meal and Moscap is just watching them.
Mm.
And so they realize, okay, I'm gonna make like a plate for you and hand it to you, and that's gonna make it feel a lot better because it's there's a way. It's weird to sit and eat with someone watching you without offering something to them. Even though Moscap can't eat the food, it would go inside it, and would harm it or attract animals. Though Moscap was like, oh, that might be interesting. Because what if a ferret or a bug comes inside of me and, but Moscap then realizes, can't guarantee it's a small scavenger. Maybe a bear would get into me, and that would be not so good.
Right. Yeah, and then Dex finally is like, okay, you have your portion, I have my portion. I'm gonna eat my portion. And like, hey, are you gonna finish that? and Moscap's like, no, great, and then takes the Moscap's portion and finishes it.
Yeah,
that was such like a I don't even know what to call that, because is that a human thing to like want to share because wanting to share a meal is a very humanistic thing, right?
Yeah.
We sit down, we share food. It's like breaking bread is a common thing for like to peacetime and to welcome someone into your home and all this stuff. So maybe as a monk, that was something that was also their whole society seems to have been built around that kind of thing, right? Sharing and not being wasteful and all that stuff. So I could see that being ingrained into Dex, that sharing is caring. I don't know.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and
or is it just weird to be the only one eating? I mean, I know they talked about it being more like you were saying, but also it's just if you're the only one eating at a table, you just made this meal with someone and now you're the only eating. It's just weird, awkward.
Would you guys feel weird about that?
In that situation with a robot? No.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I would just be like, yeah, it's a robot. It doesn't eat. It wouldn't really bother me.
Okay. Ben?
Well, I probably feel a little weird because here's the thing. Here is an intelligence that is speaking to me, and there are deeply ingrained assumptions I have about them and my relationship with them and how to host them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I totally would be in the same place as Dex. And in fact, it's kind of funny because Moscap said after this is all done, that's very silly and entirely unnecessary. Dex says, "Worked though." Mosscap waited, then gave an amused nod. Then that's what we'll do.
It's amazing. Like I know that the opposite happens pretty regularly, where I prepare a meal and give it to others that then will immediately start eating without waiting. I know that happens quite frequently, and that doesn't bother me. I imagine if I was in this scenario, I'd be like, "What else you want to know about eating? Let's go over all of it. Chewing,
Right.
swallowing, cutting, sauces. Let's go."
Yeah.
I'll explain it all. All right. I think this podcast has gone on long enough. Next week for book club, we're going to finish out this book. We've got chapter 7, The Wild, and chapter 8, The Summer Bear. That's Audible chapters 9 and 10. And that's going to be it for this book. And then we got to figure out what we're doing next. So if our listeners have been enjoying what we've been talking about, check out the book. Once again, A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. You can find it at your local Barnes and Nobles, probably. They had a bunch of her stuff on the shelf, which in the past they've maybe had one or two, but they had like a whole stack of her stuff. So I don't know if that's just a local thing or if she's gaining popularity or what's going on, but it was pretty cool to see a bunch of her work on the shelf because it should be enjoyed. It's good stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting because she has a new book she's currently working on, and she's starting to kind of come out of a period. Becky Chambers is kind of coming out of a period of kind of just getting her head in writing and finishing writing this book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I don't know if we should reach out to her. To see if we could have her on the show.
How
weird would that be?
We certainly could. That would be super weird. I do remember a while ago, like looking into that, and she had turned off all of her social medias because people were being extremely rude to her about things.
Okay.
And had said I'm not contacting anyone for. I mean, this was a while ago. This was probably a few years ago. Maybe things have changed.
Yeah. I'm just looking at.
It would be interesting though.
Yeah, I was just looking at her news on her site, and there is someone that that we can work with and see if they'd be interested.
Oh, cool.
Sure, ask her.
Yeah, maybe we should look into that. Like, why are you so good at what you do? And she'll be like, I don't know. I'm like, cool. And that'll be that.
All right. Do we have any last words, Devon?
Oh my gosh.
No.
Ben, do you have any last words?
I got arrested today for walking out of a museum with a painting. I was just so confused because earlier when I asked if I could take a picture, they said yes.
Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.